Hey friends, we're talking about whether we might already see a big altcoin rally in May, what the current situation actually is. We'll also discuss how to take profits and which narrative you should keep an eye on. This will be an extremely important video with hard data, numbers, and facts. That's why, go ahead and leave a like and a comment, because a lot of work goes into videos like these. First of all, why do I expect an altcoin rally in May? We have tested the 200-day moving average with altcoins. Every time we did that and broke out sustainably, we had a big rally, and this rally was not small. No, the rally was definitely bigger than what we've seen here so far. Here. Now we have tested it again, and accordingly, I expect that we will see a proper breakout here. In the past, we have seen this happen quite often, and every time after testing this zone, we broke out very strongly. It only becomes quite dangerous if we break through here sustainably. After that, we usually slipped into a bear market. We were able to hold this zone. Accordingly, I definitely expect, both technically and structurally, that we can continue to rise in the coming weeks. Last year, we also saw small altcoin seasons, always, when the RSI was in the overheated range. And currently, we also see with altcoins that we are in a bullish cross here. And here we could slowly build up and also move into the overheated range. That means that would also be the time when altcoins rise. Of course, then we slowly move into this overheated range, and accordingly, the altcoins would also follow and perform. However, one must say, historically speaking, it means, yes, always, sell in May, go away, but remember, come back in September. Because these months here between June, July, August, they really don't perform well. I've marked it here for you again, they generally don't perform well. On average, these are actually rather poor months. What must be said here, January to April? So far, it has truly been the worst quarter we have ever seen with altcoins or with Ethereum. And that's why one might imagine that this early year rally has perhaps been postponed a bit, to May, June. And, on the other hand, everyone simply expects that we will dump again in May and June, because that has often been the case in the past. And because everyone expects that, I could imagine that we might do exactly the opposite. At least purely psychologically, that would definitely be feasible, definitely a possibility. Because nowadays we simply have a sentiment rotation. Every time we rise sharply here, new, higher targets are set. People become ultra bullish. It is then also very dangerous if you post anything bearish. People become ultra bullish, then it rises for 2 months, then lower targets are set. Then we fall really deep here, then down here people still sell, and we rise again for 3 weeks. Are bullish targets set again? We have this sentiment all the time, it's like a Swiss clockwork. It repeats all the time. Here we had even higher targets again, now here again, this same phase. And now we are slowly finding ourselves again in this moment where people are slowly starting to become bullish again. I mean, here we are still neutral, but in this crypto market, it often requires this washout of retail. It simply needs this every time, it has to repeat itself anew every time here. And at the moment, it looks again as if we could see a rally for now because, as I said, a few things are pointing to it. Especially from a macroeconomic perspective, because we have now priced in the worst, so one could imagine that. And above all, I expect that we will perform better with altcoins because we are lagging behind the global liquidity in the crypto market. If global liquidity increases, we can also rise. Take a look at this. It was only when we saw an increase in global liquidity that we saw a significant rise in altcoins. Of course, this is a bit delayed, as you know, but it was definitely the case. And when we had less and less liquidity in the markets, the altcoins really crashed. And currently, as you know by now, the M2 money supply, it is currently increasing significantly again. It is building up properly right now. They are getting more and more liquidity, and this liquidity is slowly coming in. I mean, look at this, and it is also completely delayed. We first flattened out here, and now we are slowly starting to feel this liquidity, which actually started. January, February, continuously rising here. Now we are slowly playing this liquidity into the markets. It is always delayed, but it has always been like this. But this liquidity is the most important thing for the altcoins. And so slowly we are washing it out, and that's why I could imagine that we might see a nice rally in May or June, because people might not expect it. And because we are getting fresh capital into the markets here. This doesn't necessarily have to be distributed to the altcoins. And once we have seen that, we will probably still July, August stagnate a bit. And at the end of the year, it could really take off again. That would definitely be feasible in terms of time and data. And it would be realistic, because I mean, just look at it. We are building ourselves up step by step, piece by piece. It doesn't happen overnight, it takes time, and this cycle has been like this so far. And why should it be any different this time? Because, since this tariff announcement, we have slowly recovered and are gradually heading back towards peak levels. Trump has also announced that there will be further tariff relaxations. In the end, this whole tariff issue was blown out of proportion. Trump will be able to reach agreements with some countries in the coming weeks, and that could trigger the next rally here. But then in July, this 90-day pause ends, and Trump will probably pull a few stunts again and push the markets down a bit. And then it could rise again towards the end of summer. That's my forecast, which I find the most realistic because, look at the past. What is happening here is not happening for the first time. Now let's briefly talk about how one could take profits here. You could take profits by simply selecting the RSI indicator here. When you select it, you can look here. When are we in the overheated zone? This is where you should realize profits. If you had paid attention to this, you would have perfectly hit the top with Ethereum. Here we were in the overheated zone, you could have sold here. But I wouldn't do it only then, I would do it piece by piece by piece. And to do this piece by piece by piece, you can, for example, also pull Fibonacci to the edge. I'll show you how to do that. We select these Fibonacci retracements here, select the top here. From here we pull it down to the... And now we are here at the render chart. And here we simply have some certain zones that are already extremely significant. I would then just a bit below these zones at this point. Cash out piece by piece. You should never cash out everything at once, but scale out slowly piece by piece here. That's how I would do it with the altcoins. In the past, this has usually been the best thing you could do here. And then we briefly talk about the right narrative, because nowadays it's not that easy anymore. There are many more altcoins, and the money has to be distributed across many more cryptos. And because that's the case, we need to handle our cryptos more carefully and conduct more thorough research. But that's not a problem. In this regard, one could look at which narratives are performing well. Currently, we have over 80% growth in the RWA sector just on the monthly view. And that's always an indication that this might be a sector that could perform very well in the near future. And maybe, yes, it could also form the new narrative in this cycle, because it's not a very small sector, but if so many billions are already flowing in, it certainly won't be without reason. Additionally, I would simply pay attention to other things, such as a connection to the USA. Whether the narrative is correct, maybe even deep in AI or something, but a connection to the USA, or perhaps also a connection to personalities like BlackRock, Trump, such things are extremely important nowadays. For example, with Ondo, we have a connection to BlackRock, and with Ondo, we have an official partnership with Donald Trump's company. These are things that are damn good, and that makes Ondo a very lucrative investment. Ondo. Also having a functioning, good product that truly has a use case, that truly has utility, over $1 billion just in TVL, these are things to pay attention to with altcoins. However, in the narrative, we also see that the meme narrative is currently taking off again and has captured a significant portion of the market. Things like that. You should pay attention, you can't swim through the tank like a blind fish. No, you need to invest a bit more time and research here. I do that, of course, and I also enjoy doing it for you. But there's not much more to say. I know your time is precious, so thank you for watching. Leave a like and a comment on the video, and see you next time, friends. Bye.